Chip Scoggins on the program. There was much more to discuss, but I think you can address this particular story that I believe is now official, but you can I think fill in the gaps if there are any. So have the Gophers, as the football program, has your favorite head football coach hired Mike Shula as senior offensive assistant? Is that's what Bernsey says, Ryan Burns. So but that has not yet been technically officially confirmed through the football program?
I honestly don't know.
Okay.
I can look to see if there was a release sent about it.
So what is he? I guess I'm trying to translate. So Mike Shula of the famous Shula brand, he was a head coach at Alabama. Was he the head coach at Alabama when Mace beat him?
I think he was.
Yep. He's been all over the place, right? Not running franchises, but on the NFL level, been with a number of teams as well. So does he have a theory on what this represents, what this might be about, if there's a particular area that Fleck thinks needs shoring up, or that he could be particularly helpful on the basis of his experience? What do we think, or what is his theory if you don't have any?
I mean, the new arms race in college football, besides just money for the players, has been for a long time these analysts that are technically not coaches on the field, but they're people that can help with stuff. They're basically an extra coach without being a coach, and they help with game plans. They might help with certain film stuff. Teams have analyst upon analyst upon analyst that just serve as kind of assistants to the assistants. They're not technically allowed to be part of the on-field coaching staff, but they're there. So I don't know if it's a theory. I don't know if that's confirmed, but I would imagine he's an extra set of eyes that has a ton of experience that can help the offensive coordinator, the quarterback's coach, the wide receivers coach, and all of that. That would be my assumption.
Okay, so I thought it was an interesting name. And again, does that change everything? Not necessarily, but I wondered if it was a sign of, there's something else we'd like to shore up, or it was simply, we have an opportunity here.
We have money for an analyst.
We got some money.
Let's go ahead do it.
And get that individual. Because I assume that job means different things in different programs in terms of how involved they are across the board.
For years, Saban at Alabama, you would get fired. You'd be a head coach somewhere, you'd get fired.
Right, yeah.
Then you'd go, I think even Lane was an analyst. I don't know if he was an analyst, but I know Sark was. That's the secret.
Okay.
Steve Sarkisian had been fired from either USC or Washington. He goes to Tuscaloosa to just be an extra set of eyes. Lane Kiffin gets the Ole Miss job, I think, or Florida Atlantic. It must have been that. During the college football playoff, and Saban doesn't like that he's distracted, so he fires him.
Yeah, that's true.
Or tells him, go be the coach, that's fine, and then just elevates Sark. But Saban would have this panel of old coaches that had been fired. And the bit is, you're getting, Shula just got fired in November from wherever he was. So I'm sure he got a nice buyout.
True, yes.
So he's probably coming here for
$100,000. Or sort of like the Kyler Murray deal.
Kind of. Yeah. Yeah, that's what a lot of these fired coaches end up doing.
Yeah.
Yes, so that's kind of the bit there.
218 guy listening to our conversation with Chip Scoggins, Star Tribune. The same local media that gives the hockey program grief for not playing at an elite level gives the fans grief for expecting a better hire. I actually think there's something to that. I know the fashionable thing in media circles is to mock and ridicule the expectations of the Gopher hockey fan, and that there's this belief that they're delusional about what they might expect. The analogy has been advanced that it's not that different than Nebraska football fans. They continue to think unrealistically about what they can be. But I'm not here to say whether this was a good hire or not. It may end up being the best hire ever. But I also think, I'll say again, I mean, it wasn't like I was calling for Motzko's head, but I also add that regardless of the ups and the downs and who's leaving and who's going, all that sort of thing, when you have the worst season from a win-loss standpoint at University of Minnesota since I think 1971-72, there's going to be some questions regardless of what what you have over the course of your resume. And so there is some truth to this, that there certainly was grumbling about I think, criticism about the depths to which the program had fallen. And maybe it was going to be an immediate bounce back year. Maybe that was the gap year for Motzko. I don't know. But I don't think it's out of the question to wonder whether the U is thinking big enough. Now, again, I don't know who else might have been available. I think the Augustana story, isn't that coach, how do you pronounce his last name? Garrett, is it pronounced Raboyne? Do you know how to pronounce it?
I think so, and we call him Rabs.
Rabs, that's right. He's got the Rabs nickname. That's easier. I think two things can be true. One, that the University of Minnesota hockey fans might live in the past too much and not understand that there are a lot more viable programs than there used to be. I think you can believe that that's true and that those fans need to get more realistic, but at the same time say, well, that's a little concerning that a coach at Augustana with ties to here decides to stay there. Now, a couple people have texted. They've got a fat cat who's supplying all kinds of NIL money, and that's already in place, and that might be part of it. But let's be clear. It still feels a little, to me, as an outsider, a little strange that even if the University of Minnesota isn't in the place it once was, that it can't draw the interest of a coach in that situation. I don't know if there's any other backstory. I have no idea whether there is, but I don't think you have to necessarily be a delusional fan to grumble a little bit or wonder. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that's that outlandish. I don't think that's an example of these stupid, delusional fans always going knee-jerk. They're unrealistic about their expectations, etc. I'm not sure I buy that necessarily.
Well, also because I look at, it's kind of interesting, and I know on the men's side, the success was earlier in St. Cloud than it has been recently, and maybe, and I'm sure St. Cloud, I mean, we've talked about the issues. Royce just wrote about it, the issues that St. Cloud's having as a school. They have a great basketball program. There's 10 people going to these games. Now, I don't know if there were huge attendance numbers. I don't know if that's the thing to talk about, but they're having issues just as a school that might be factoring into why things weren't as good on the hockey side the last few years. But it is interesting that these two hires for hockey seem a little different than the two hires that he just made consecutively back-to-back for basketball, where he went out and hired like established, proven, wherever they go, they win. And these feel more wild cardy, which I think is why
that's exactly
the hockey community is a little perturbed. Yeah.
From the same program, and the other being a head coach, but at a place where you feel like, well, is this where we should be drawing
from? They both might work out great, as we know.
100%. Well, I said this, was it yesterday or? Yeah, because you weren't in yesterday, right?
Correct.
You were on, but you weren't in. So, because somebody was saying, well, you're letting the AD off the hook too easily for the original hires of Ben Johnson and Whalen. Well, what I said then is I'll stick with today. The way it works in the hiring and firing business, whether you're talking about a general manager in pro sports or an athletic director in college sports, is if you last more than a minute, you're probably going to have more than one chance to hire the coach in a given sport, right? Now, in a perfect world, you make one hire and you never have to look back, but that doesn't always happen. So in the end, it's perfectly legitimate to evaluate the hires that failed, that ultimately led to the departures, the same AD saying it's not working out here. But in the end, how are they going to be evaluated? Any of them, including Coyle. Well, I didn't really I thought on Whalen, that was a little early. I thought on Ben Johnson, it was a little early. You could believe that, but in the end, the way the resume is going to look and the outlook on Coyle as an AD is going to play out is, I didn't love what he did, but the second bite at the apple looks like he's done good, right? That's always the way it's going to be. And it's doubly bad if you do it a second time and you fail. And then you're probably in the area where you go, I don't know if you're going to get a third shot, depending on the job that you're talking about here. And we can talk about Fleck forever. That's a different subject. But in the end, you can pretty much determine which way the narrative is going to go on the basis of the success the second time around. And I'm not here to say that Don Plitzowite should get a lifetime deal. I'm certainly not here to say that Nico's proved everything yet. I think we're a long way from here to there, and we tend to get excited probably too fast. But I do think in the amount of time we've had both those coaches here, the signs are promising that these hires do represent what you say, less wild cardy, more, established that they know how to coach, and they just have to prove that they can keep enough talent to take full advantage of what their coaching seems to suggest. That's the way it works in this business, isn't it?
And what is
you're going to make wrong decisions.
Yes,
it's how you respond to them and make up for them. It's like trades. You're going to make a bad trade occasionally as a general manager. Well, all right, but then what? What about the one to rectify the bad trade? Or do you trade away the player you got that you thought was going to be better than he was, and you ended up getting somebody back? It's always about the second or third move. Usually you're going to get a few chess moves before either the school president or the owner is going to say, you're out of here.
I would also add, in the 10 years that Coyle has been here, his job has probably changed like 3 different times in terms of the college landscape.
That's true.
Because I think about the Ben Johnson hire, for example. He was brought in to do it a very specific way. If you remember when he got hired, it was Ben's a guy who's going to connect with the locals. He's going to develop guys.
Yeah.
He's going to build this thing the way that with Minnesota kids that are going to grow and develop. And if you look at his second to last team, that's what he had kind of done, right? Mm-hmm. When you have Pharrell Payne, you have Dawson Garcia, Parker Fox is obviously part of it. And then that world that maybe 10 years ago, if Ben did that, all those guys would have stayed for 4 years, and you'd be talking about probably an NCAA tournament team the next year. They were close that second to last year, probably 1 or 2 wins away. And so that completely flipped. And now, we can argue about you can't hire a guy that's going to be learning on the job. But my point is, like, even with the Whalen deal, that was a total wild card of, this is an all-time legend who wants to get into coaching. I'm going to give it a shot to see if she can wake up the echoes.
Totally.
In fairness to her, the 2 players that she recruited in that top 10 recruiting class, one of them tied the game at 61 the other night, and the other one won it. And she's in the top 10 of basically every career category in women's basketball. Amaya Battles, who I'm talking about. Now, is she the right person to coach up the group?
To get the best out of them. Yeah, that's
probably
fair.
not.
Right.
And that's what Mark decided, and brought in someone who clearly has done that.
Yeah, for sure. One other quick text. Competition is getting better, sure, but they, meaning the Gophers, have made 2 national title games appearances in recent years, so it's hard to call them Nebraska football at this point. That's another very fair point. That's the problem with the analogy. There may be some delusion among Golden Gopher hockey fans, because I think there's some feeling that there were too many people calling all season for Motzko's head.
Agree.
Right? And that might well be delusional, but it's a flawed analogy with Nebraska in that sense, in that you could say Gopher hockey fans are delusional, but this program's not that far removed from still playing at the very highest levels, which means you are still going to have pretty high standards, and I think have a right to expect and not be called delusional that you're going to stay on a level close to that. Nebraska has not come close in football to doing what its fans continue to believe might be well around the corner. Let's pause, bottom of the hour break. Don't forget, Dr. Dan's inbox open at 5:30 today. Email Guardsy with your contributions. JG@KFAN.fan. Kind of an excessive, or I think over-the-top comment from Tony Kornheiser. Probably the last time he joined us on this show. It's been a long time.
It has been a long time.
Since Tony has been on the program.
Yeah.
Wilbon more recently.
Yeah.
But not in the case of Kornheiser. Do we have looking for the calendar of calamity sounder? Thought I had it on...
That's on A.
Is it on A?
Yep. Top, second column.
It's the Minnesota Sports Calendar of Calamity.
Dan Minnesota reminds us that on this day in Minnesota sports history, speaking of Golden Gopher men's hockey, a moment that will forever live in infamy. I just texted you the audio. Maybe we can indeed, on the fly, see if you can get that ready for us to play. Oh, you have it anyway.
Gophers Holy Cross.
I didn't know if you had the long version.
Yes.
Which is because I think the long version sets it up very, very nicely. This was the Holy Cross student radio call, correct, of Golden Gophers versus Holy Cross in the first round of the NCAA men's hockey tournament in, 20 years ago. 20 years ago today.
Patulny able to regroup, then it's poked away by Burke, who takes over. Pushes it up ahead to McGregor. Holy Cross coming down with a 3-on-2. McGregor from the right side, centering feed. And oh my God! Yes! Oh, score! Tyler McGregor! Yes! Yes! Tyler McGregor off of a rebound, puts it past Kelly Briggs, and Holy Cross has knocked off the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Yes! Oh my goodness! We're not going home yet, baby! Just 53 seconds into overtime, and the Holy Cross Crusaders are mobbing Tyler McGregor and Tony Casada. It's the second chance. It's the second effort, and it goes in. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Yes, I do!
There it is.
Holy Cross has shocked the world right now.
And, of course, that year, Holy Cross went on to win the NCAA. Well, no, not really. Did they lose the next game? I don't even remember.
Yeah, I think to North Dakota. That's where the game was.
That's right.
Grand Forks.
Yeah.
Remember we had that guy on, the play-by-play voice on?
We did, you're
5
right.
years ago for the 15.
Was that what it was?
I think it was.
Yeah.
It was either the 10 or the 15.
Probably. I think it was the 10. It goes fast, man. It's unbelievable.
I got in trouble for that.
How so?
People at the U weren't happy that we were revisiting.
Well,
I know.
It's not your fault.
No, I know.
You can always blame me, which I'm sure you often do.
No, I actually defended you and the show. I said, we got to...
Well, it's history.
I go, we got to have a little more security.
Well, yeah,
I said, we got to buck up a little bit. Because the best part was, it must have been 15 because Motzko was the coach, if I remember right, at the time. And we found the guy. He's like he works on Wall Street or something in New York. And I found him somehow and said, hey, by chance, are you this guy? He was great. That was the other part.
He was actually very good.
He was awesome.
You're right.
And he talked about what a big deal it was and how they didn't have to buy a beer in Grand Forks as college kids the rest of the weekend.
It's funny because the discussion and celebration of college media is all the rage again.
Yes.
Because of the play-by-play call. Was it High Point?
High Point, yes.
The High Point victory, and you got video and audio of the High Point radio station broadcaster and color analyst losing their minds, right? As High Point, who'd they beat?
Wisconsin.
It was Wisconsin, you're right. Yeah. That's why you loved it.
That's why I remember it.
And that's exactly why I remember it. And in fact, I think the play-by-play guys appeared on a decent number of programs as well, right? He did pretty much on everything. And somebody, was it the coach of that team, or was it somebody else was saluting just college newspaper reporters and broadcasters in general, correct?
That was the VCU coach, Martelli, Phil Martelli's kid,
right?
The old St. Joe's coach.
That's it.
Basically saying in the press conference, shout out to these guys. They've been here all season. They're paying their own way to get here. We appreciate it.
Here's my question that has never been successfully answered. Where was all that celebrating of the student newspaper, reporters traveling with the team, covering every game, and the broadcasters being with the team, when little Danny Barrero, a junior at Indiana University, is tracking the men's basketball team, undefeated, to the, what was then called, I think it was called either the Mid-East, I think it was the Mid-East Regional. And it took place in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I think do you remember the story I've told you about what happened there?
I don't know if I do.
So we're covering, where the deal is, back then, the Daily Student was a 6-day-a-week newspaper. The only day it didn't publish was Sunday. And I want to say the semifinal, they were playing, I think they were playing University of Alabama, and then they had to play Marquette to win the regional. So I think we get to the arena to watch practice, get ready, and then there's always that curiosity of, okay, what's our media setup? Like, we have, this was typewriter days. We got typewriters, and we're gonna so we need what any other reporter does on that occasion, and that's what? A table in front of you, because in those days, press rooms were not as established as a thing, and it was pretty much you set up wherever your seat in the arena along press row might be. And I was concerned about, okay, well, let's see where they have us to see if there's a spot that has a table. And I find the spot, we're like about 3 rows into the crowd, and it's just seats, just regular, spectator seats.
Not going to work.
Not going to work. I go back into the athletic director's office at LSU. I can still remember that name. I can remember Paul Manasseh. That was the guy, Paul Manasseh. And I said, because I think beforehand he had assured us, no, you're set. We got you. You'll be in good position whatsoever. Well, immediately I see we're not on the floor like everybody else is, and we had been for other games leading up to that, and would even for the Final Four. We were at press row. This again obviously goes back a long time to like the mid 70s. So I barge into his office, Paul Manasseh's office. Basically, I'm yelling, "Where's Manasseh?" And I said, and I'm not proud of it, I'm not going to lie, but I said, because he had been very reassuring, and I said, "You lied to me." He goes, "What are you talking about? First of all, who are you again?" I had to reintroduce myself. And then I said, "You lied to me, man. You said we would have a table from which to work. We are on deadline. We're not the New York Times. We get it. We're not the Indianapolis Star, but we're on deadline. We've got night deadlines. We are a 6-day-a-week newspaper, and what am I supposed to put my typewriter on my lap? What are you doing?" And he did not enjoy it, did not like it, to the point where we're jawing back and forth. The other reporter from the Daily Student, now gone, unfortunately, the late great Mike Soroki, he's looking like he's terrified by the whole situation. I'm just trying to stand up for us, because it's so ironic about all this celebration of student publications, because then it felt very much like you had to explain your side. Well, who are you? What are you, once a week? I mean, we're not going to make a big deal. You don't cover the team. No, we've covered every game, home and away, the whole season. At least one of us did. And we're screaming back and forth, and one of his minions grabs me and starts to basically says, "Get out of here. I'm throwing you out of this arena." And he's about halfway through the concourse, and then he tries to settle it down and say, "Look, this is unnecessary. Let's not go crazy." And they assured us that we would have a table game night. Did we have a table?
I'm going to guess no.
No. What we had was, are you old enough to have the old-fashioned desks where the chair was connected to the table?
Yeah, elementary school, for sure.
Technically, we had a table, but it was like about as wide as this iPad, for God's sake. And at that point, there wasn't anything else that we could do. So more than most people, I appreciate the respect being shown student publications that still show up and are there, because they do the work.
Yeah.
They really do. They may not be as far along and all that stuff. None of us were.
Yep.
But they do the work, and back then it was like, I could tell what it was is in the South, there was nothing but disdain for student publications. It was almost like, they don't go with anybody on the games. They don't really, what do they really do? It's kind of a lark. It's like, no. We've been covering this team from day one. I wanted to get Bob Knight involved, but I'm not exactly sure he would have been on my side.
And probably not what he should be working on right before the Sweet 16 or the Elite Eight.
Didn't matter. They were undefeated. They were not going to lose.
He would have had the time.
Exactly.
So do you wish then, this sounds a little WNBA of you, do you think that the student reporters when they are shouted out by coaches and media? Do you think they should pause and thank those that came before them that fought these brave battles?
It's a great idea.
To get you this.
I hadn't thought of that. They should. You're right.
A guy like you going into Manasseh's office like that.
Will you check to see if he's still around?
I was going to, but I want to.
Paul Manasseh. I never. Anytime I'd see him after that in my professional career, I could never get past it. Every time I saw his face, that's what I saw. A guy who was utterly disrespectful and contemptuous of all. We weren't asking for special treatment. We were just asking for the same thing every other God-fearing reporter had, a table, an opportunity then to actually cover the event in earnest, just like we had done, just like everybody else was trying to do. LSU Media Relations, I'm sure he's probably passed on. Because I think he was pretty advanced even then. Couldn't have been more condescending about the whole thing.
That's too bad.
Let's break here, and when we come back, we get to some text. We'll get caught up. We have Top 5 at 5 yet to go. The inbox will be opened at 5:30 as well. Don't go away. Email Guardsy, JG, It's an early in the week edition of Sunday Sermons. I should say Sunday Sermons. No, that's Sunday.
This feels like a Sunday sermon song.
It actually does.
Kind of feels like a ease into your Sunday song.
It does. Very, very true. And it's safe for use?
It sure is.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
No, Dr. Dan's inbox is a Thursday fixture, but Guardsy is out the rest of the week tracking Golden Gopher women's basketball on the West Coast, Sacramento, California. So we're including that in the bit at 5:30 this evening. JG at KFAN.com.
This is the end, my only friend, the end.
I guess this is a combination done as a society and bumper seal of approval for the reporter who identified this particular done as item, Lou Ragoose, who was just in studio, a week or two ago about his new book?
Yeah.
It's already out. Mastermind. Good name. Catchy. This was from 3 days ago. I don't know if you caught this or not. Minnesota's legislature gave $1 million in taxpayer money to a nonprofit that was already ordered to pay back $1.1 million of taxpayer money that the State Department of Education identified as fraudulently obtained through the Federal Child Nutrition Program. Now, he is quick to point out that the new American Development Center did not fall under Feeding Our Future. It was a meal site sponsor just like Feeding Our Future, but the only two meal sites it sponsored were its own, claiming 2.9 million meals served for $7.8 billion. So repeat. Minnesota legislature gave another $1 million in taxpayer money. Now, I know that sounds like chicken feed compared to the numbers that are being thrown around on a regular basis, but it should be the principle of the thing. $1 million in taxpayer money to a nonprofit that had already been ordered to pay back $1.1 million of taxpayer money that the State Department of Education identified as fraudulently obtained through the Federal Child Nutrition Program. It never ends. And I think one of the legislators who let it through acknowledged that she didn't know that she wouldn't have done it if she'd have known about this other issue.
I would have done it if I knew.
Honestly, it's like, I sincerely wish that the people who run this state, and we know who they are, the people who run this state would be as aggressive and deliberate and as determined in holding people and places responsible on these stories as they have been attempting to hold the federal government responsible for all the ICE nonsense. We're really good at that. And by the way, I applaud it. But how about the concept of being as unforgiving and no nonsense and, again, as determined and aggressive when it comes to this ongoing, never-ending fraud story in all of its various incantations. How about showing the same aggressiveness, and we're not going to take no for an answer, and we're going to hold people accountable, and we're going to hold organizations accountable. We have nowhere near the stomach and interest in it. And that's too bad, because we could use some of that same approach and aggressiveness. I guess that's true. No one told me. And I just shake my head and I'm going, can you have any greater example of just how cavalier too many officials have been with our money? And again, our money going to the right places to nurture the notion that we are a generous people, that we want to give, and we want the money to get to the proper places. But we see example after example that it's more important just to demonstrate our generosity in a performative sense, apparently, than it is to actually find out whether the money is ending up in the hands of the people that it's supposed to be in. You don't have any sort of built-in check and balance to say, well, here's another mill. There's nothing automatic that says, well, what else do we need to know about that organization? These folks don't have staff that could attempt to research those kinds of issues. This isn't a second guess now where it's easy after the fact. When we're talking about, in totality, the amount of money that has been drained in that regard, and it's clearly bigger than the number that the Star Tribune continues to want to go with. Take that from Lou Ragoose, among others, who I trust on this story. What are we doing? And as I said, eventually, somebody who's willing to follow the story, no matter who it hurts politically, when they do the book, my guess is we're going to find out it's exponentially worse than we even thought. Because we made it too easy in the state to say, let's just write another check. Yeah, $1 million? Yeah, why not? And guess what? The bad guys figure that out. It doesn't take them long to say, let's worry about it later. We might get caught, but there's a good chance we won't. And by then, we might have been able to, smuggle out $1 billion. Who cares? So congratulations to Ragoose. It's a done-as item for sure. But I'm going to try to find the direct quote. Yeah, if I'd have known that, we wouldn't have released that money. It just... How's that for a check and a balance?
I always laugh. I shouldn't laugh because it's just so preposterous.
Yeah, you laugh to keep from crying is what you do. Top 5 at 5?
We've got a Wolves update in advance of their big game against the Houston Rockets. We've got some Wild to discuss and a huge upset already at the state high school boys basketball tournament.